All right, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Bucks on Deck episode. If you're tuning in to the video side of things, you'll notice a change back to maybe the normal background behind me. First, Anthony, of course, Anthony Murphy here with my co-host Nola Jeffy. What's going on, man?
Not too much. It looks like you've been basically in two places in one day.
Yeah, technically, and it's not kind of shorted my appearance today.
Yeah, I guess the only way you
I,
can get your word out there is on your own.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. I guess I talked about Omar Alfonso too much, and they got
Oh,
sick
too
of it.
much.
So that's just gonna, it's gonna. He finally had a week that was way more worth talking about than any of the other weeks, and they're gonna cut me out because of it. But
Right.
yeah, I know. But for everyone that's been keeping track, I was in Bradenton all week last week. I was at our podcast last week. I actually recorded from there. After a very long flight and a very long drive, I am back home and to where I guess the fun stops and like the real work begins with it. But this episode is going to be winging it a little bit because I walked into my house probably about 15 minutes before we started recording, just enough time to get the laptop out and get going.
You had to
So
feed yourself, so
yeah. So we're gonna. So first off, we're gonna start up, I guess, a little bit with the trip. Yeah, it was fun. It was. I got to watch baseball for an entire week, so can't really beat that. Got to see a lot of players that we've heard of, but not many of us have gotten a chance to see. Got a couple games down at the complex, a whole weekend at Bradenton, and they swept. They had a nice sweep. What is it? They're on a 10-game winning streak now.
yeah, 10-game winning
ten
streak.
game winning
Yeah,
streak. That would be like
and
11 of their last 12 that they've won over the last 2
I
weeks.
think before they started it, they had at the time they had 4 wins, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I might be
Yeah.
misremembering, but yeah, like
They,
prior to that week, they had like 4 wins and Altoona had 5, and now I think Altoona was at 7 wins and Bradenton. Oh, sorry.
they've
Altoona has eight wins now, and Bradenton has 15.
Bradenton has won more games in a row than Altoona has won this entire season. Mm, mm. I guess I picked the right team to go try to visit for a week.
Yeah, that you can't call it a Murph curse. They won every
No,
game.
absolutely not. And I think you because it didn't get off to a great start there in the first couple innings, and I think you kind of tossed it
Right.
out there. Yeah. So
Yeah, because you went to
proved you
the
wrong.
FCL game and they didn't score. I think they got shut
Yeah.
out.
Mm-hmm.
And after one inning in Bradenton, I was like, oh, Murph curse. No one's scoring.
Yeah.
And then they tore it up.
I definitely in my head I was thinking it was going to be a very long week at certain points, but yeah. So I guess we're going to keep it a little Bradenton complexly themed this week. We'll obviously get into the weekly preview and yeah. So I guess we'll dive into the main person that I want to talk about here, and I kind of teased it with Nola and stuff like that. A guy who we've heard the name for a long time now, but this is really our first chance to get a look at him. And one of the players that really stood out to me, and I think it's time we could kind of start hyping up Solomon Maguire. Is it time to finally break out the Solomon Maguire breakout season thing here?
I mean, we're probably getting pretty close after the week he had, or at least like the end of the week. I guess the tail end of it. I mean, he took off there, hitting a couple home runs, a couple other extra base hits. I mean, he really took off at the tail end of this week there.
Yeah. So he was like an international signing, and they got like the money from like the Marte trade, right? So like they got the added money, and they kind of used that money on him. I believe that's how it worked. Something along those lines.
That sounds right. I mean, yeah, he's been around for a minute.
Yeah. So like obviously the Pirates like targeted him out because they technically kind of like tried to work him into the trade, and like it's a week, so let's let like obviously like this is more of a let's have fun with it kind of thing. We're not saying that but there was a lot more when I first looked at him. like when first time I saw him step on the field, he doesn't have a big frame. He is a small dude. I don't know what he's like, what like his official page has him listed as, but I would tend to assume that he's smaller than that on there. So the frame isn't big, but the swing is like beautiful. He is all lefties have great swings, but beautiful swing. He gets so much power from like so great bat speed, and like he was just one of the funnest players to watch while I was down there. Speed, plenty of speed. He stole a base. The triple was like exciting to watch him run the bases. Hit home runs in back-to-back games, so he's shown a little power there. It just like, and he's only 21 years old. Like he turned 21 in like March or April or something like that. So he's not that much older than like the competition that he's playing. You'd still probably put him on the older side for single A, but like experience wise, he's still pretty young. Obviously, with that speed, I'd imagine that like he'd probably be able to stick in center field for an extended period of time. I don't know about like long term kind of thing, but I don't know what have your thoughts of Maguire like overall going into like this year? Is it someone that you just kind of like because the injury is just kind of written off at that point?
I mean, obviously, he was something that was always intriguing. Signed out of Australia, which I would say his player page has him listed 5'10", 168. I don't know. You saw him in person. I don't know. But, I mean, if I recall correctly, and I think Cody reiterated it, that he was considered a potential like 5-tool player when he was signed. I mean, granted, I think he signed at 16. Maybe they thought he'd grow into a little more. But if this, again, the tail end of the weekend's any indication, I mean, there's a lot there with him. And it's kind of similar to a Lonnie White situation where it's just the entire beginning of his career was just injury. And maybe this is where he stays healthy, finally gets regular at bats, and it clicks, which could just kind of lead into your week as a whole. I mean, you picked a great week to go because that offense as a whole clicked.
Yeah, I know that especially here on the site, we try not to get too excited about like hitting prospects before they hit AA, and like for very good reason. But they have some pieces down there. They have some exciting, like there's a good chunk of that lineup is like very exciting to watch and like very exciting to like watch going forward. Mainly, there's a lot of, and I think one of the like we'll touch on a couple players here, but I think like a moment that really stuck out to me and kind of like described the group as a whole is Eddie Rodriguez was at bat, and it was like a 3-1 count, I think it was, and they called it a strike. And we're like during the weekend where they're doing like the challenge system, and he challenged it, but like he was so confident that it was going to be overturned. Like he tapped his head for the challenge, and then he just started taking off like his elbow pad and all that kind of stuff, and started walking down the base. And it's like he knew it was going to be overturned. And it was overturned, and it turned into a walk. But I feel like this, maybe compared to some like the other hitters in the system and all that, there's like an awareness with like the strike zone and stuff like that like a lot of the other hitters don't have right now. And I think that was one of the most impressive things that kind of stood out with them there. And it's something that Jim Horner mentioned too. Like every time I brought up a player and stuff like that, he always mentioned like just they don't chase, they make good contact. They know the strike zone. They've adjusted really well to the ABS thing, which we talked about a little bit as well too, just like how much of an adjustment and stuff like that it is in general. But I think that among that group there, probably that's the thing that stood out the most, just like their strike zone awareness. And a lot of them are like still on the younger side, even more so when it comes to like experience wise. Like this is all outside of Alfonso, this is all their first taste of like full season baseball.
Yeah.
And to have to show that kind of awareness already is pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I guess aside from a couple of them, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, mainly from that, like like the core group and stuff like that. You know,
Right,
like
right.
Valdez got it. I mean, he got a little bit of a taste last year. Didn't go over well, but this is his
Yeah.
first significant taste of it.
Yeah.
Rodriguez, Maguire, even like Delgado too.
Mhm.
This is all their first extended look at single A.
Right,
So,
right. Well, and that's what I know. Going back to like when we did well, first our sleeper candidates when we did begin the season on Bucks on Deck, and as well as um, some of the writing for the prospect guide we did, the minor league guide, um, which I'd show, but it's over there. We haven't hyped that in a while.
Yeah.
But I remember I was talking to Wilbur on some of the kids, Eddie Rodriguez specifically, and then also I think even Esmeralda Valdez. Like if you read some other pieces on him, the scouting reports on them were that they were patient hitters with good eyes. A lot of the question came down to how much power there's going to be in the bat.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
and Valdez, he didn't have he had the 2 home runs, he had the inside of the park grand slam, he had like 8 RBIs. Like he only went 4 for 18. So like overall, it wasn't probably the best week, but like still, like it's funny, and I kind of mentioned like it on NS9. It's like when you watch some of the kids, when I'm there watching them, like I get stuff put in my observations in my head and everything like that. And then at the end of the week, I kind of sat down and looked how they did over the course. Like I wasn't really keeping track with like hits and at bats and stuff like that. Valdez stood out leaps of bounds and above everyone else, outside maybe Omar Alfonso. Like I'll run through his numbers real quick too in a second. But he stood out just about more than anyone else, and like statistically, he probably had the lowest average of like the main guys too throughout the week, and he struck out eight times. But like everything he hit he was barreling up like everything. Like his barrel control, especially within the zone, was just so impressive. And he didn't chase much out of the zone. I think after watching a week's worth of rookie league and single A, I can safely say that just about everyone struggles with breaking pitches down there. Everyone's not really good with it. And when we get to the complex, I know there's a guy you're going to want to bring up too when it comes specifically with that. But yeah, everyone struggles more or less with that kind of stuff. So, but he just, when he got the barrel on the ball, and he made, for someone who struck out 8 times and 18 at bats, he showed a lot more plate awareness than that would show, I felt like.
So, well, and that's why you also, when you're watching the games too, you got to be kind of cognitive of the whole ABS system, because sometimes, because of the way that it's been, I was going to say meticulated, but I don't think that's the right word. The way, because like if you look at the game day, you can kind of see how it doesn't look like your generic strike zone, because it's been modified over time based off player feedback. So sometimes it might bite them on a specific pitch, because like they shrunk the top and bottom of it, and then they widened the edges because pitchers weren't getting those. So there might be a pitch that especially the boxes on the MLB stream, that it's off the plate, even if by a hair, it's being called a strike in the Florida State League because of that widened zone. So
and too, like also too, like I kind of like, I didn't get like exact confirmation from it, but like with my talk with Jim Horner, I kind of came to the conclusion that, like, he mentioned that like it's a lot of teams like to take advantage of the top of the strike zone because of the way like it gives and stuff like that, which now kind of like puzzling everything together with how Pirates have been approaching when it comes to like pitchers with certain types of fastballs and stuff like that. It makes sense. Like they're kind of preparing for like the kind of ADS that they're running down in the Florida State League. So like someone like Peyton Stumbo, who throws 91, 92 or something like that, but he has a lot of carry up in the zone and stuff like that. It pays right now to have pitchers that can work really well up in the zone with the fastball. And which makes sense with how heavy the Pirates have kind of invested in that. So it kind of seems like they're starting to realize that, like, okay, well, if this is the future, let's start kind of adapting and getting ready for that kind of stuff.
Right.
So yeah. But yeah, like I said, I guess I might as well do my weekly Alfonso plug. But he was named Florida State Player of the Week. Hit 9 for 18, 2 doubles, a home run, 7 walks to 2 strikeouts. 2 of those 7 walks were intentional, but we're still going to count them. Eddie Rodriguez, he had a double RBI, 4 walks. He's really, like, his big thing right now, like, last time I checked the numbers, his chase rate was like 13% or something like that. Like, it was insane, like, how good the chase rate was. But he's still working on, like, elevating the ball a little bit, and I think that'll come with more experience.
Kiner
Delgado.
Do you have the game on right now?
The what is it? Who hit that? Yasmani?
Yes. Delgado?
I was just kind of in shock. The Pirates have 7 runs right now.
Right.
So but
save some for later. Save some for later.
Yeah, no. We have a whole season to go. But Delgado, he had 2 home runs, 2 doubles. Struggled a lot with off-speed pitches. Like, I think one of the game logs I looked at, like, he had like 5 whiffs against changeups. So first week at single A, I mean, I'll kind of, but I mean, that's not an unheard trend in the system, though.
Right. So, yeah. A 273 average, a 273 on base percentage, but a 636 slugging.
Yeah. So like to see some walks, like to see less swinging against off-speed pitches. But yeah, I mean, it was a like you said earlier, it was the perfect week to pick to go to.
Yeah. And then I guess a little precursor to the weekly preview. They had the second best OPS, team OPS of the week in the Florida State League of 853. And they were .001 behind the number 1 team.
That one more hit.
Mm-hmm.
One more hit. Fun fact I will bring up here on there. So I tried to get into good position so I can get video for the site and everything like that. So I ended up sitting around a lot of the scouts and everything like that. I think it was the Thursday, maybe Friday game. As we were getting up after it, one of them came back and said, "Well, this is the worst outfield play I have ever seen between 2 minor league teams in my entire time watching minor league baseball." And I can't say he was wrong.
I'll say that was the game that included the Valdez inside the Parker, right?
Yes, I believe so. So yes, yeah, and then also Valdez made this catch on Sunday that had everyone cheering and oohing and awing. But it was a catch that was made because he took such a horrible route to it that he kind of had no choice but to make an immaculate catch on it.
So it was basically the G1 base special in center field.
Yes. Yeah. So at this point, I feel like they're all fun to watch, but also if you are looking at Valdez, Alfonso, and Eddie Rodriguez, it's probably first base prospects going forward. So I guess if you're looking at any kind of rankings and stuff like that, take that into account.
We do need first basemen, so.
I mean, throw a bunch against the wall. One of them's got to stick, right?
I mean, they've been trying for like a decade now. We're still waiting, so. Aside from Bell.
What's another couple of years then?
Right.
Okay, so enough of Bradenton. I was also the other team that I had a chance to see and was the Complex team. Some notable names there. I did a little write-up of David Matoma, getting to see him pitch. He got up to 98 miles an hour a couple times. Struck out the side in the game that I went to. It looks like he pitched again today, or the day that we're
shutout
recording.
inning.
So what is that now? 3 innings there, 16. So he's almost gone 20 innings pro ball without giving up an earned run.
I would say I know. I always get it wrong. Drecker,
Yeah,
John
Drecker.
Drecker. I believe he tweeted he's thrown 19.2 innings in his professional career so far without giving up an earned run.
That's pretty good. And so he looked exactly probably as I expected an 18-year-old to look.
Right.
The stuff is there, but you need to the fastball. The fastball looks like it could be a very good pitch, but at the same time, it's also a very inconsistent pitch. What is it? Very. It got anywhere between 93, 98. The induced vertical break went all the way down to in between 13 and 18 inches, I think it was.
Yeah.
So a lot of consistency there. The cut, it looks like it's a cutter slider kind of thing, because I noticed when I was looking at when I was tracking the data on it, the slower it went, the more horizontal break went with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like he could somewhat manipulate that and kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, like I said, kind of exactly what I would expect from an 18-year-old with less than 20 innings of pro experience, with 90% of that being in the Dominican League, which I kind of throw at this point. I throw all Dominican numbers in the trash once they get here to the States.
Yeah. And I guess just to kind of equate it a little bit, I was just thinking the fastball pops, but it's kind of like us during spring training with Jared Jones, where we're the fastball's popping, but he's not getting any swings and misses. Mm-hmm. And then, eventually something just boom, swings and misses left and right. So
yeah, I think he had they didn't square up the fastball at all. He didn't get any swings and misses with it, but it was 7 fouls or that was with it. So they weren't and I think the cutter was the ball that got put into play. So
that's what what was it? There was one. I think it was I'm pretty sure it looked like it was a sweeper, and it was 87 with a 2,958 RPM on it or something, and 15 horizontal break. I don't recall specifically, but I remember it was one he struck out a guy on. It was just whoa, that thing moved.
Yeah. So it's like I said, at this point, and it's every time I watch a lower level game, it always brings me back to what Robbie Hammock said. He's the Altoona manager now. The biggest difference as you move up the ladder is consistency.
Yeah,
they'll go out on the mound one day and they'll have all their best stuff, but then they'll lose it for the next 2, 3, 4 outings or something like that.
Right.
Or a guy's locked in at the plate for a game or two, and then all of a sudden he can't hit a breaking ball for the next week or whatever like that. and so it's not. And I see this on Twitter a lot. People pick and choose when to highlight a player. Oh, well, he went 3 for 4 today. Is there a promotion in the site? It's okay. Well, look how he went the 4 games beforehand, and then let's see how he does the 4 games. It's not about these guys having 4-hit games that's going to get them promoted. It's doing the right stuff every day for a long period of time. Baseball is all about peaks and valleys. So, and these guys are all talented enough to be playing baseball at a professional level. So the talent's there. They're going to have those kind of days. It's can they do it more
day
often?
in and day out?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah. Keep the valleys to a minimum.
Yes,
or short.
Yes. And I think a guy that I know you've been talking about a lot that we've brought up in the group chat that kind of fits that mold, and he's kind of the guy that I saw get brought up today in that kind of thing, is your Donnie De Los Santos, who I guess hit a home run again today.
Yeah.
So that's his second home run of the complex league, which is good. Which is good. That's good to see. But then also too, in the games that I saw when he was there, he was pretty rough at the plate. Like he
Pretty free swinging.
yeah, like how did you put it? Like he's trying to get himself to Bradenton kind of swings.
Yeah. Like he'd already was in Bradenton last year, so he's hitting like he wants to get there quickly again.
Yeah, yeah. Which that will only keep you in the complex longer at that point.
Yeah.
But he's just like we talk about like if you want to talk about like tools and stuff like that in the lower levels, I don't think there's many that have more than him. Like the
Yeah, the
potential's there.
athleticism, the power.
Like that jump throw that he made in the hole was just like that was beautiful. And then he made another good play at playing second base too. I think at like the first game that I went to, it was like a little he like had to slide toward the second base bag, pick up, turn, and throw it. I mean, defensively, it's there, it's clicking. It's just like we said, yeah, he may have that really good game like he did today or when we're recording, and then like going back last week when he hit his first home run. But how is he doing in between those like highlight reel days and stuff like that?
Yeah,
that's gonna be key with him.
Yeah.
So, and we kind of saw him in Bradenton last year not really look really lost at the plate most of the time. He hit that one home run, but outside of that, it was really kind of.
Well, I gotta say, I know one completely out of the blue name I'm kind of interested in, and that was Richard Ramirez.
He has a cannon. He has a cannon.
And he hits the ball hard.
Yeah, and he hits the ball very hard. And so, yeah, it seems like there's some intriguing stuff down there catcher wise, because like even Luke Sherrod looked pretty solid behind the plate too. I saw him catch twice.
I think he's listed what 6'1", 215. I want to say.
So like, his upper body, he's really built like upper body wise. Like he's a very strong upper body. A lot of it's in the upper body, and he made a lot of. He scooped a couple balls, blocked a couple there. He kind of like fumbled a couple like handoffs, trying to transfer to throw on stolen base attempts. But if you saw the amount of times that happened, like I saw it, like you won't think anything of it. Really. That happened so many times. Like especially like the Orioles Rays game that I went to. I don't think anyone got a throw off on a stolen base attempt because they just kept fumbling it.
So, well, not to, I mean, just you'll box score watching DSO or Florida Complex League games like the one today. I think I messaged y'all. I was like, there's more errors than there are like runs and hits at this point. I think at one point the game was tied at 2. Each team had 1 hit and at least 2 errors or something like that. I was like, jeez.
Yeah. So that first game, like Monday when I got there, I literally got off the plane and drove to the Orioles complex to watch the Orioles Rays game. The first inning that I watched, it was a walk, stolen base, walk to score the runner. A runner scored before anyone swung the bat. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then what is it? That second inning where you made the comment that like I was never gonna get out. Like that top of the second inning took 45 minutes because there's errors and that I'm pretty sure that's where the top of my head burned because I was just there forever.
I believe it.
Yeah. So, but on the pitching, like I think one more guy that I want to get into like pitching wise. I wrote about him as well. Carlos Castillo. He looked almost Xander Meath light in the sense that like mid 90s with the fastball, lower arm slot, a lot of horizontal run. I think the changeup's obviously a lot more like raw than like Meath's. Like it's like one of those things that like the only difference is like the miles per hour. Like it's like really high spin rate kind of changeup kind of thing. Like the only way you can tell it's a changeup is because it goes like 6 or 7 miles slower than the fastball. But yeah, he missed a lot of bats, and guys with that arm slot and that much horizontal run, like in the lower levels, hitters are going to have a hard time barreling that up too. So like any contact that he got was like weak contact. And I think he was charged with like 2 hits against, but like one of the hit I looked at the box score. He was charged with the hit against the first batter of the game, which John Zarilla like threw it like 30 feet over the first baseman's head, and they called it a single and an error, which I have no clue how that happens. So, but yeah, oh, okay, well, I guess we got a ball game again in this.
Well, it froze on me, so I don't know what just happened.
I don't know who. Bowers just hit a home run, and now it's 7-6.
Nice.
Yeah,
it froze at 6-2 on me.
Yep, nope. It's 7-6. Yep.
All right.
So fun trip. I had a blast. Got to see a bunch of people that I've been hoping to see. Got to see Xander Meath. Didn't get to see Tony Blanco, but I talked to Wilbur, who he was at a game that he played earlier. I think it was the Friday game. And he said that they completely stopped throwing fastballs, and then he turned into completely the kind of hitter that we thought he was at that point. So he just had no answer to once they stopped throwing fastballs to him. So that's fun.
Well, I mean, if he's going to learn,
he's going to learn.
He's going to learn now.
And like I mentioned too, like I think they're going to take like the heavy axial Plaz like route with him. Like they kind of sheltered Plaz a little bit. They didn't play him that much, especially out the gate and stuff like that. So I can't imagine we'll see him in too many games this year, and then they'll kind of maybe force the issue next year. So I feel like
maybe just give him a cup of coffee in Bradenton.
Yeah, I could see it, but I in my head, I'm kind of thinking like we may not see him in Bradenton until like 2026, kind of thing.
Possible.
I mean, he may be a guy that they have to go like really slow with. So,
I mean, a guy that size,
he is a giant. Like I didn't see him play. He walked past me though, and it's like you were immediately like, that's Tony Blanco.
Stood out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everyone else was kind of like when a new pitcher came to the mound, like, okay, well that's number 70. Okay, like Wilbur, like get your phone out, figure out who it is, and Wilbur go through his phone real quick, and okay, that's this guy. Okay, cool. Tony Blanco walked by and said, oh, that's Tony Blanco.
Yeah, we probably won't want to tell your embarrassing story.
Mine?
Yeah. You're like, oh, Ryan Harbin's on the field. No, that's Noah Takix.
No, just all white people look alike. That's the problem.
Hey, now. You saying I look like Nick Ross just because I have a bald head and a beard?
Yeah, pretty much.
Fair enough.
All right, well, yeah. So that was the trip in Bradenton. That was fun. And now I have 40 different videos of over 40 different prospects and like an hour worth of interviews to go through.
And no space on your phone.
Yeah. Next investment for Bucks on Deck is a camcorder of some sort.
Boom. There you go.
And hopefully within the next month, because I should be heading to Greensboro at some point.
There you go.
So,
which series you picking for that?
Well, one thing I learned about in Bradenton is if there's a specific pitcher I want to see, I need to make sure he's pitching earlier in the week when there are going to be nobody there, because when there are people there are people up and moving. And I think it's just the way that LeCom is set up to where like it's just easy to walk around and stuff like that. But
yeah,
there are just so many people. And I don't think there's ever more than like 100 people in the stands, despite what the attendance said.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just constantly people walking. And like the more crowded it get, the more people walking, they block your shots. It's just, so if I want to go see a certain pitcher, I'm going to make it when they pitch early in the week when there's nobody there.
There you go.
So, But I have a couple series planned out that I might be heading to. But so wrap things up. Nola's weekly preview, which you can also find on the site as well. So it kind of look like it's going to be a pretty interesting week. In a sense. Maybe not in double A.
It's going to be all right because, we got some injuries, but,
Yeah.
And then, starting off with Indianapolis, they had themselves a pretty rough week, going 1-5. They did just lose their best pitcher and hitter, but they're going to take on the Toledo Mud Hens, who are top 7 out of 20 teams in both team OPS and team ERA. There's Jace Jung. We've spoken on him before. Consensus top 100 prospect. He's having a pretty good last 10 games, a 1.249 OPS. There's also Justin Henry Malloy, who's got a 1.110 OPS in the last 10 games. And then Dylan Dingler, I think he was a catcher drafted at Ohio State with a 0.946 OPS over his last 10. They also added one of their upper pitchers, Ty Madden, 4th overall. He was picked out of University of Texas in the 2021 draft.
Important, apparently.
What's that?
That order is important, apparently, right?
Yes, not Texas University. It's University of Texas.
Yeah, I missed it now and again.
Things happen.
Yeah.
And then we dropped down to Double A. Tuna Curve, they had a huge week, winning 2 games, went 2-4. They're taking on the Akron Rubber Ducks of the Cleveland Guardians, and they actually got swept by them the last go round. But they should have a little easier task, as in that last series, Chase DeLauder actually got injured and will be out with a foot fracture, the same foot he fractured in college. So their top-ranked prospect currently is Khalil Watson at 14th. In Advanced A, Greensboro slipped up this past week, 2-4. They kind of got beat up by the Bowling Green Hot Rods so bad that they had the worst ERA of the week among the 12 teams, 6.56 ERA. They did have the 6th out of 12 OPS 6.73, which is a little below their normal.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking on the Hickory Crawdads this week, and the top prospect on that roster is Sebastian Walcott, who only turned 18 back in March. So he's having a bit of rough go to start the year. But, 18-year-old in high A is pretty advanced.
Yeah.
Then, as we all know, Bradenton, on a 10-game winning streak, went 6-0 last week. They are going to be facing the Tampa Tarpons, who, if you recall, I said Bradenton had the second highest team OPS of the week at 0.853. The Tarpons had the number 1 OPS at 0.854. So a 0.001 difference. So we might see a lot of offense this week in low A. Their top-ranked prospect is Roderick Arias, 4th overall consensus top 100 prospect. And then Yankees 2023 first-round pick George Lombard Jr. is 6th on their top 30, and he's ranked on Baseball America's top 100 at 96th. So
I will note that it looks like Tampa has a stream now, which this would be the first year that they have it. So I kind of feel like every low A team has one now.
Progress.
Because I know Clearwater didn't have one in previous years, and they had one this year. Lakeland didn't have one. We were able to watch those games.
Well, no, we were hounding Greensboro for like 2 years straight.
Yeah, and we finally got that last year.
Yeah.
So, complaining works.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know who told us that it didn't, but it clearly does.
Because I need other baseball games to watch, so I'm not watching the Pirates blow a 7-2 lead.
Yeah, this is why I just hang in the minors, because if like the minor league team is bad, it's just like, well, I mean, prospects suck sometimes. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, this is the
so
bad thing about no minor league games on Mondays.
yeah, yep,
We get stuck with this.
yep. I almost got to miss it just because it took me forever to get home.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe it's my
Well,
fault then.
the FCL team won what 14-5 today.
I haven't even checked. I haven't even checked the final box score. I'm just going by some of the stuff I saw on Twitter. But I guess this is something new that we can try with this, and we can make it really quick here too. After the weekly preview, is there any specific matchup or anything specific that you're looking forward to seeing or watching this week?
Anything specific?
Mm-hmm. Like it could be any level pitching matchup, just anything.
Well, I guess one specific is, outside of his after the third inning, it actually seemed like the Altoona starters were kind of getting things going last week.
Mm-hmm.
Bubba was great for 3 innings, and then things kind of fell apart. But prior to that, he was great. And then seeing Harrington kind of see where he pushes past 3 innings.
Mm-hmm.
And then, at Ashcraft, because they played Somerset, who was the number one offense or team OPS of the Eastern League going into the week. And the starters, for the most part, handled them pretty well. Po Yu Chen pitched real well. Ashcraft pitched well. Bubba for 3 innings. Solo had a little rough go. Sean Sullivan actually, even though, 5 earned runs I think he ended up giving up. It was all pretty quick. Like, I think the first 2 batters of the game was double home run. But he actually was generating a lot of whiffs and then got a save at the end of the week.
Yeah. I don't like this segment already because you stole my thing. I was going to mention the Altoona rotation. But
how about I'm looking forward to Charles McAdoo, who's still destroying.
Yeah. Like I said, he probably would. So
by the
we all said
guide. I wrote about him.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. That's why I felt confident in saying he was going to do good in Greensboro, and he would be a guy we would have to judge in Altoona. Maybe they just need to get him to Altoona.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's anyone really holding him back.
I completely forgot. You could talk about my other thing I was going to talk about.
What's that?
Escato and Blanchard.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Go ahead on that real quick.
I guess just real quick. I started thinking just in terms of the international free agents, and I started thinking, hasn't really gotten anywhere lately because Cheng's in AA. You got Chen and Cheng in AA. Wilbur Dotel's in Greensboro, and I started thinking, is the hitting getting anywhere? And Giovanni Blanchard doesn't play often, but he's actually having a very strong season so far. And then I wrote about him in this week's 10 observations. Michael Escato is actually having a very good season. He's got an above 10% walk rate. His K rate's around 20% right now. I think I don't recall off the top of my head, his ISO is actually, he has 1 or 2 home runs only, but his ISO's around the highest it's ever been of his career. Mm-hmm. He's having a very good season, and he's only 22 in a couple months or so. I think beginning of June.
Yeah. Still not probably still can be considered old for high A, but not that much. If things almost like Sam Messiani, if it just clicks, you're kind of in a position to where okay, well, let's shove him up to AA now. And then all of a sudden it kind of feels like he's just back on track again.
Right.
So, yeah. Escato's always been an interesting guy because there's he plays a premium position and there's a lot of raw power in the bat. And obviously those guys are always going to be more okay, kind of let's give him every single opportunity and then maybe an extra one because that is such a rare thing to have.
Well, I guess we should say played a premium position.
Yes, he is.
He has yet to play shortstop this year.
Yeah,
he's played first, second, third, DH and pitcher.
And pitcher, yeah. In a run, he came in a 1-run game in the 8th inning of a game they were losing by 1 run. They were losing by more by the time he was done. But yeah. Well, okay.
So what's your thing? What are you looking forward to?
What's my thing? I'm looking forward to seeing how Altuna's rotation is going to work out, because that's what I wrote about while I was sitting in the airport waiting for my flight.
I'm looking forward to if Donardo ever releases the video, the interview.
Yeah, I took time out of my day and packing up the night before, and they're just gonna do me like that. That's just messed up. This is what happens when Rosati isn't on the show.
Yeah,
it's just me and Donardo. So
now we know who the brain trust is.
Yeah, pretty much. We know who. We know how that goes. So, but yeah. That I think I told everyone at the beginning this was going to be a little unorganized because this was very impromptu, but I wanted to keep us on a schedule. So I knew I was going to be back around like 9:30, and hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I want to give another shout out to everyone who supports the site. You guys have been incredible. You guys are the reason why I was able to make that trip down there. And I just can't thank you guys enough for all the support that you show on the site and whatnot. Going to get to work to put out all the content that I have planned. I'm going to kind of try to lay it all out tonight, and look forward to showing you guys what I got. But Nola, for the guys, the people who are listening that aren't watching the video, how can they get a hold of you through the social media stuff?
The social medias is going to be on the Bird app at Nola Jeffy, NOLAJEFFY. No underscores because there's only one.
Yeah, I am. Well, I like that. There are 2 underscores in my name, but that is for emphasis to know that I am the one. And also, yes, there are a lot of Murphys on the Bird app. So I had to be unique with mine. So follow me, Twitter, at @_Murphy88. Subscribe, Bucks on Deck. We got daily features, morning rundown that reviews the previous day, game day article, which that's really been popping off, I feel, lately. Like, we've been getting 100, 150 plus comments in there almost on a daily basis with it. So
there's a lot of angst right now. A lot of angst.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that sometimes, like, when like things are like really, really bad, like we'll have games to where it's only like 50 or 60, but like even with it, we're getting. I think the Paul Skeens, which for obvious reasons, we're up to like 250 comments and stuff like that. So come join. Nola and I make an appearance every now and again on it. I try to do better on it, but I still kind of suck at it. But Bucks on Deck, subscribe. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you all next week.
Till next week.